Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the power of fact. This is the power of assuming something as if it were a fact. This actually comes from the power of assumption, which is very similar, but this is what we're going to talk about. To me, it's like the most important thing, and it took me a very long time to kind of wrap my head around this. And, we've talked about making mental images real and creating visualizations to make your dreams real and, so much other stuff. But there is one thing that I think everyone must do to solidify their dreams on a much deeper level, their dreams, wishes, goals, whatever you want to call it. And it's something that is very simple as like everything else, but it is also something that's super important. That is seeing the dreams that you have as a fact, as if they already exist, but really believing it on a very deep level to the point of ignoring reality. And I say here, yes, that might sound crazy because sometimes we might desire $1 billion, but it might not be a reality. And so we have to ignore reality and get to work. So the first thing that I did is I cleaned up my attitude in general. There are a lot of teachers out there in the law of attraction space that say that we have to clean up our vibration. I'm all about it, but again, this course is not necessarily meant to be a law of attraction course. There's nothing magical about anything necessarily that I'm talking about here. To me, it's more about getting your mind moving in the right direction, and that, believe it or not, that's all we need. There really is no difference between, you and a billionaire. There really is no difference between you and someone who has made $1 million even, or $10 million, or there's no difference between you and anyone else who has accomplished anything. The difference is they might have just their mental state maybe is a little bit more clear. Maybe they're able to see their goals a little bit clearer, or they're able to kind of imagine things in a different way. So it kind of allows them to manifest or almost achieve their goals in a much easier way. So it's easy to imagine having $10 million, but it's another thing to believe it, like with every single fiber of your being. And again, a lot of the law of attraction teachers, they talk about imagining things into existence. I'm a big fan of this. Again, it makes me feel good. If it makes you feel good, I say go for it. I think that it doesn't hurt. I think it can only help. And I'm all about imagination. Again, that's what we've talked about this whole entire time. I've told a story before as a kid. When I was growing up, when I was a little kid, I had no imagination. I was very realistic, very logical as a kid, and it's something that I had to learn to do. So if I can do it, you can definitely do it as well. These are some of the things I've done over the years to clean up my imagination, and we're going to talk about a couple of different things. And again, very simple, but really, this is kind of like the trick here. Again, it's easy to believe that you can manifest $10 million, but again, there's going to be a part of your brain that says you can't do it. Maybe you have different goals. Maybe you want to write a book, or whatever it is you want to do. It doesn't matter. The important thing here is that the reason you haven't done it yet is probably because there is one of these things that we're going to talk about here in just a second that is getting in your way. So what I want you to do is I want you to write a list of every reason you cannot move forward on one of your goals. So, pick your favorite goal, wish, or dream on your list. We've done a bunch of lists already, and I want you to do another list. I want you to write a list of every single reason why you cannot do something. What's getting in the way? Maybe it's your children. Maybe you don't have enough money. Maybe, could be anything. And maybe you have to get educated. Maybe maybe it's the government. Maybe it's Mark Zuckerberg. Who cares, right? I would just write down every single reason why you cannot do something on a list. And I would pause this video right now and go ahead and do that. Because what you're going to do is you're going to look at that list. Many of the reasons you may not be able to do something are usually the exact reason you need to do something. So, for example, if you said that you didn't have enough money to accomplish a goal, or you don't have enough money to start your business, that's probably exactly the reason you need to get started, because if you do get started, you will have the money to be able to do it. So it's kind of like a circular thinking here, but I want you to write another list next to the list that you just wrote. And I want you to write down, if the world was perfect, we've done this before, if the world was perfect, if there was never anything that could stop you, if there was never anything that could get in your way, what would you do? How could you overcome each item on the list that you feel like is preventing you from moving forward? So again, take your time. there's no reason to rush, and just write another list after that right there. And I'm going to give you time to pause it, so go ahead and pause the video, and we're going to move on. So there are also 4 questions that I think are very important to cleaning up your beliefs. Number 1, is there any rational reason for your belief? Is there a good reason why you can't do something? I mean, obviously a good reason would be if you want to be a bee farmer, but you're allergic to bees, that's probably a pretty good rational reason why you shouldn't do something, right? So, that's usually a good, that's like a life or death things, pretty good example. So is there a rational reason? A lot of the times, when we have a goal, wish, or dream, there might not actually be a rational reason for our belief. We might want to start a business, and we might think we need money, but maybe we don't. Maybe the government is still giving people money who want to start a business with COVID, right? There's plenty of money still available with the whole, whatever you call that, the government has several programs, right? That's just one example. Maybe your goal is to write a book, and maybe you believe that nobody gets published, but there are plenty of people that have been published, and why can't it be you, right? So a lot of the times we do this, and if we have a limiting belief, there might not be a rational reason, and we might just be making things up in our head. Could you be mistaken in beliefs? And again, this is kind of similar to the first one, but there might be some things that you believe. It's different because there might be certain things that you believe to be true that might not be true. Maybe you believe that you need to have a special license or special information or some sort of certification to do something you want to do, but maybe you don't, right? So can you do some research if you have a belief where you believe, hey, I need this schooling, I need to do things this way? Is that true? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. We're not looking for, right or wrong answer here. We're just looking to answer the question. And I have here, would you come to the same conclusion? And what I mean here is if you want to, do something, and again, if the world was perfect, would you come, and if you believe that you can start a business, but other people don't believe that you could start a business, would you come to the same conclusion? Like, what are your personal beliefs? What do you believe you are truly capable of? And maybe that's a better way to kind of reword this question here. The last question is, why should I continue to believe that this is true? And so if you have a belief and you believe that nobody who writes a book gets published, but that's not true because people do get published, then why should you continue to believe that belief? The whole point of this exercise is that by the time you get to this question right here, you're probably going to figure out that what you want to accomplish is much closer than you think. So, it's kind of like a get moving exercise here. Finally, we're going to talk about the real secret here, and with whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, the real secret to overcoming challenges is to improvise. This is the secret of all great teachers. Even Neville Goddard, who is a great teacher, he actually taught the law of attraction, but one thing that he understood was the law of improvisation, of improvising when you want to do something, because again, nothing works exactly as we expect it to. So getting comfortable is kind of like the key here, right? I think a lot of people, they set out to do something like write a book, and it doesn't work out exactly how they want it to. So then they give up and they quit and they don't look for other ways of doing things. So I want to give you just a few tools that I think are great for increasing your ability to improvise and to come up with other ways of doing things. The simple one is to write a list of how you would accomplish your goal in different ways. I believe it was day 2 or 3 where we kind of talked about this. And again, it's still, I think, one of the best ways to improvise is if you have a specific goal, something that would just really make you feel good by the end of this year, even this month, or if by the end of this course, if you had something that would make you feel really accomplished as far as a goal is concerned, just writing down a list of the things that would lead to success, or, writing down a list of other ways of doing things is going to be very beneficial here. Also, I'm actually going to skip forward to this idea, which is to write 10 ideas a day. One of my favorite people of all time, James Altucher, he talks about exercising your idea muscle, and to exercise your idea muscle, he has you write down 10 ideas a day. And again, doing this, I do this every single day. I actually stopped for a while, and I definitely noticed a difference. So I still do this every single day. Basically, what you do is you take out a piece of paper and you write down 10 ideas about anything that you possibly can imagine. It doesn't matter. These are not necessarily good ideas. These are not ideas that you have to keep up with or that you have to save or anything like that. Some days, just to give you an example, I wrote down this morning, I do this every single morning, I wrote down 10 ideas for different titles for my videos on YouTube. So you can write down 10 ideas for that. Some days I write down 10 ideas for dinner, 10 ideas for where I should go and travel in the world. It could be anything. But his belief is that if you exercise your idea muscle, you become an idea machine. So I do this every single day. I think it's just a good side note, and it's a great way to figure out how to improvise. So finally, this is probably my favorite thing to do, and that is, what would you do if you were lost in a foreign country? I don't remember who I learned this from, but years ago I learned this from somebody, and basically every single day, or when they're driving around, or when they're going on a trip or anything like that where they have a lot of free time, they kind of think of situations that could happen in their life. And it's just a mind exercise. And again, I believe that your brain is a muscle. Just like James Altucher, you have to work the muscle. If you don't, it atrophies, and then it's not as good, right? So I think we have to work our idea muscle and our improvisation muscle, and this is a great way to do it. So one game that I like to play with myself is, what would you do if you were lost in a foreign country, you had no money, somebody robbed you, and you didn't know what to do, right? And these are just games that you play. You're not looking for a good answer or a right answer. Just what would you do? Maybe you would find people who speak the same language you do, and you would ask them for help, right? There you go. There's just a quick idea. But then I like to go further. I like to say, what if there were no people that spoke my language? Then what would I do? It's like, maybe I would start hitchhiking. Maybe I would try to speak the local language. Maybe I would go to the police. Maybe I play this game, and again, I'm doing this quickly off the top of my head, but I really want you to come up with situations like this that really make you think. And again, this is just something to keep as a tool. It's something that I do when I have a bunch of time and I'm doing nothing, like driving or something like that. And I always come up with different situations. So this is one of them. Like, what would I do if I was lost in a foreign country? There are other ones as well. Some of them are scary. So I'm trying to be careful with the ones I use, but some of them are like, what would I do if my family was kidnapped and I had to get to them? What would I do if I lost all my money and I was on the street and I had to make a certain amount of money to be successful? Or what if I had to make a certain amount of money to be able to save my family? Kind of like things like that. And again, you're not doing this to scare yourself. You're doing this, so pick better ones than that, but just come up with some impossible situations. And again, the other reason we're doing this is because I think it really proves to your brain that you are much more able to accomplish things that you just don't normally think that you're able to accomplish. So that's the power of fact. And again, the power of fact is pretty simple. It's just believing that something is true and is a fact in your life. It's just that simple. And again, I would suggest cleaning up your brain first by going through what we talked about, because it kind of makes you believe that something is true, which is important here. So that's that. I will see you in the next section, which is going to be all about curating your reality.